The email from my own address said, "Don't go to the kitchen." I hadn't created that email account. I'd never seen it before. But there it was, ethan.morrison.1993@gmail.com, sitting in my inbox at 7:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, with a subject line that made my hands stop over the keyboard. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Ethan, 31, and I've been working remote as a programmer for about 4 years now. My company's based in Seattle, but I rent a house in Salem, Oregon, one of those 1960s ranch-style places with the low ceilings and the wood paneling that probably has asbestos somewhere. It's fine. Quiet neighborhood off Commercial Street, close enough to downtown that I can walk to the Safeway, far enough out that I don't hear traffic at night. I live alone. I like it that way. My setup's pretty standard. 2 monitors in the second bedroom, standing desk I bought off Craigslist, a Logitech webcam I keep covered with electrical tape because I'm not an idiot. The first email came on a Monday. I was making coffee, heard the notification ping from my office, and wandered in still half asleep. The subject line was, "Don't go to the kitchen." I thought it was spam, some new phishing thing, but the sender address stopped me cold. ethan.morrison.1993@gmail.com. My name, my birth year. I'd never made a Gmail with that exact format. Mine's ethan.j.morrison@gmail.com. Has been since college. I opened it. No body text, just the subject line. I went to the kitchen anyway. Of course I did. Made my coffee, ate some toast, came back to my desk. Nothing happened. I figured it was a bot, some scraper that grabbed my info off LinkedIn and auto-generated a creepy email to get me to click a link. Except there was no link. I deleted it and got back to work. The second email arrived Tuesday at 7:47 a.m. Subject, "Don't answer the door." I stared at it for maybe 30 seconds, then heard a knock. 3 sharp raps on the front door. My stomach did this weird flip, but I stood up and looked through the peephole anyway. Jehovah's Witnesses. 2 women in long skirts holding pamphlets. I didn't open the door. I never do. They left after a minute. Coincidence. Had to be. Maybe they hit my street the same time every week, and someone was screwing with me. I checked the email headers, ran them through a couple of tools I knew from work. The IP address bounced through a VPN in Romania. Untraceable. Professional. Wednesday, 2:13 p.m. Stay away from the window. I was at my desk when it came through. I looked at my office window, blinds half open, view of the backyard and the fence line. I didn't move, just sat there, watching the screen. 5 minutes passed. Then I saw it, a guy in a waste management uniform, walking along the side of my house, checking the meters. He glanced up at my window, made a note on his clipboard, kept walking. My hands were cold. I closed the blinds. Thursday, 8:52 p.m. Turn off your phone at 9 p.m. I didn't. I left it on, face up on my desk, and watched the clock. At exactly 9 o'clock, it started ringing. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. No message. I played it back anyway. 15 seconds of silence, then a click. "Okay," I said out loud to my empty house. "What the hell is this?" I tried replying to the emails, sent 3 different messages asking who this was, what they wanted, how they got my information. All of them bounced back. Recipient address does not exist. I checked my Gmail security settings. No unusual logins, no devices I didn't recognize. I changed my password. I enabled 2-factor authentication. I ran a full scan on my laptop and found nothing. Friday, no email. I spent the whole morning jumpy, checking my inbox every few minutes. Nothing. I started to think maybe it was over. Some elaborate prank by a coworker maybe, or a weird algorithm glitch. I took a break around noon, microwaved some leftover pad thai, sat on the couch and watched half an episode of something on Netflix. My phone stayed quiet. The house stayed quiet. Saturday, 6:34 a.m. Don't check the crawl space. I read it 3 times. The crawl space. There's an access panel in the hallway closet. One of those 2 by 3 foot squares of painted plywood you're supposed to lift up to check the water heater or the foundation. I've been down there exactly once, when I first moved in 2 years ago, because the landlord wanted me to confirm there wasn't any standing water. There wasn't. Just dirt and spider webs, and that smell. Old concrete and damp earth, and something organic and stale. I stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at the closet door. "Don't," I said out loud. But here's the thing about being told not to do something when you live alone, and you've been getting increasingly specific warnings about your own house for 6 days. You do it anyway. You do it because the alternative is sitting there wondering forever, and that's worse than knowing. I opened the closet, moved the vacuum cleaner and the box of winter coats. The access panel was the same as I remembered. 4 screws in the corners, paint cracked along the edges. I got a screwdriver from the kitchen drawer. My hands were shaking badly enough that I dropped it twice. The first screw came out fine. The second stripped a little but turned. The third fought me for a solid minute before it finally gave. When I pulled the panel up, the smell hit me immediately. That same dirt and concrete funk, but stronger now. And underneath it, something else. Something lived in. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, leaned into the opening. The crawl space was about 3 feet high, maybe 20 feet deep, running the length of the house. Exposed dirt floor, wooden support beams every 6 feet, pipes and electrical conduit stapled to the underside of the floorboards. And in the beam of my flashlight, footprints. Fresh ones. The dirt was disturbed in a clear path leading from the access panel toward the back of the house. I should have closed it right then. Should have screwed the panel back on and called the police. But I didn't. I lowered myself through the opening, feet first, then hips, then shoulders, and dropped the last foot to the dirt. The air was cold and stale. My phone light cut a narrow cone through the dark, and I had to crouch to keep from hitting my head on the floor joists. The footprints led straight back. I followed them, my breath loud in the enclosed space, my shoulders brushing cobwebs. About 15 feet in, I found the first candy wrapper, Snickers, half buried in the dirt. Then another. Then a crumpled Gatorade bottle. Then a Safeway bag with more trash inside. Someone had been eating down here. I stopped moving, just stood there in a crouch, phone light shaking in my hand, listening. The house above me was silent. No footsteps, no creaking, but I could feel it now, that animal sense that you're not alone, that something is watching you from the dark, just past where your light reaches. "Hello?" I said. My voice came out hoarse. Nothing. I should have left, I know that, but the footprints kept going, and I kept following them, because some part of my brain still thought I was going to find evidence of a homeless person maybe, someone who'd been sneaking in and out while I was asleep. That would be bad, sure, but it would be explainable. It would make sense. The path ended at the far corner of the crawl space, under what I guessed was my bedroom. There was a flattened area in the dirt, about the size of a sleeping bag, and next to it, a phone. Not my phone, a different one. A cheap Android with a cracked screen, plugged into an extension cord that snaked up through a gap in the floorboards. It was charging. I picked it up. The screen lit up. No password, just a home screen with almost no apps. I opened the gallery. 347 photos. All of me. Me asleep in my bed, taken from the foot of the mattress. Me at my desk, visible through the crack under my office door. Me in the kitchen making coffee, shot from below through the heat vent. Me on the couch. Me in the shower. The bathroom door has a gap at the bottom, maybe half an inch, and someone had angled the camera just right. The most recent photo was from last night. I was asleep on my side, facing the camera, my mouth half open. The timestamp said 3:47 a.m. I dropped the phone. It landed screen up in the dirt, still glowing, and I just stood there staring at it, while my brain tried to catch up to what I was seeing. Someone had been living under my house for weeks, maybe months, coming up while I slept, taking pictures, watching. I grabbed the phone and scrambled backward, my head slamming into a floor joist hard enough that I saw stars. I didn't care. I crawled back toward the access panel as fast as I could move, dragging the phone with me, my breath coming in these short, panicked gasps that filled my ears. When I reached the opening, I pulled myself up and through, skinning both elbows, and I didn't stop until I was standing in the hallway with the closet door closed and my back against the wall. The phone was still in my hand. I looked at it, opened the gallery again, because I needed to be sure I hadn't imagined it. I hadn't. I scrolled back through the photos, past the recent ones, back to the beginning. The oldest image was dated 7 months ago. It was taken in daylight, from outside my bedroom window. I was visible in the background, sitting at my desk, working. The window was closed, the blinds were half open. Someone had been watching me for 7 months. I called 911, gave them my address, told them someone had been living in my crawl space, told them I had evidence. The dispatcher kept asking if the person was still in the house, and I kept saying, I don't know, and she told me to go outside and wait for the officers to arrive. I went out the front door and stood on the lawn in my socks. It was late afternoon, still light out, and my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, was watering her roses 2 houses down. Everything looked so normal. A car drove past. Someone's sprinkler was going. The whole world just carrying on like there wasn't anything wrong. 2 patrol cars showed up in under 10 minutes. I showed them the access panel, gave them the phone, walked them through what I'd found. One officer went down into the crawl space with a flashlight and came back up 5 minutes later shaking his head. "There's definitely signs someone was down there," he said. "We'll need to process the scene. You said you took this phone from the location?" "Yeah, should I not have?" "It's evidence. We'll take it. Did you touch anything else?" "No, just the phone." They took my statement, asked if I'd noticed anyone suspicious around the property, any cars I didn't recognize, any break-ins or missing items. I told them about the emails, showed them the whole chain on my laptop. They looked at each other in this way that made my stomach drop. "So someone's been sending you warnings," the first officer said. "Warnings not to do things that would have led you to discover them." "Yeah. And today's warning told you not to check the crawl space." "Yeah. But you checked anyway." "Yeah." He wrote something in his notebook. "We're going to need to keep this phone. We'll check it for prints, see if we can trace the purchase. In the meantime, is there somewhere else you can stay? Family, friends?" "Why?" "Because we don't know if this person is coming back, and we don't know what their intentions are." I stayed at a Motel 6 off I-5 for 3 nights. The police processed the crawl space, dusted for prints, took samples of the trash. They didn't find anything useful. No prints on the phone except mine and a bunch of smudges. The device itself had been factory reset before the photos were taken. No cell service, No installed apps except the camera, no way to trace it. The extension cord was generic, sold at literally every Home Depot in the state. The food wrappers were from the Safeway where I shop. The DNA they pulled from a Gatorade bottle came back with no matches in any database. The detective assigned to my case, a tired-looking guy named Morrison, no relation, called me on the 4th day. "We've gone over every photo," he said. "Based on the timestamps and the content, we're estimating this person was entering your home an average of 4 to 5 times per week, mostly between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. They used the crawl space as a base of operations. We found evidence they'd loosened one of the heat vents in your bedroom, which gave them visual access while you were sleeping. The camera angles in the bathroom photos suggest they were using the same access panel you found, shooting up through the gaps in your flooring." "Okay," I said. My voice sounded far away. "The emails are harder to trace, but our tech guys think they were being sent from inside your house. Probably from that phone, using your Wi-Fi. Someone was down there, in real time, watching you and sending you warnings to keep you from discovering them. Why? What did they want? We don't know. There's no evidence of theft, no sexual assault, no direct threats. Sometimes people do this because they're homeless and they need a place to stay. Sometimes it's obsession. Without the person, we can't say. Have you found them? No. We've canvassed the neighborhood, checked local surveillance cameras, interviewed anyone who might have seen someone entering or leaving your property. Nothing. Whoever this was, they're gone now." I moved back into the house a week later.
I didn't have anywhere else to go, and the lease was in my name until July. The landlord offered to let me break it early, but that would have meant eating 2 months' rent, and I couldn't afford it. So I came back. I screwed the access panel shut and pushed the bookshelf in front of the closet. I bought security cameras for every room and installed smart locks on both doors. I started sleeping with my bedroom door locked and a baseball bat next to the bed. I stopped working with headphones. I jumped every time the house settled. The emails stopped completely. My inbox stayed quiet for 2 weeks, then 3. I told myself that meant it was over. The person was gone. They'd moved on. Maybe the police presence had spooked them, or maybe they'd gotten whatever they wanted and left. Then, on a Saturday morning, 3 weeks after I'd found the phone, I got one more email. Subject: "I'm sorry I had to leave. Thank you for not calling them sooner." No body text, same sender address. I read it 4 times, then 5. Thank you for not calling them sooner. Like I'd done them a favor. Like those 6 days of warnings had been some kind of gift, some grace period I'd granted by not immediately going to the police. I tried to reply. The message bounced. I called Detective Morrison. He said they'd look into it, see if they could trace the new email, but he didn't sound optimistic. I asked him what I should do, and there was this long pause on the line. "Keep your doors locked," he finally said. "Keep the cameras running. If you see anything suspicious, call us immediately." "That's it?" "That's it. I'm sorry." I still live in the house. I haven't found anywhere better, and honestly, I'm not sure it would matter. Sometimes I think about those photos, the angle, the timing, the way they were framed. Someone spent 7 months learning my patterns, learning when I slept, when I left, when I was vulnerable. And the whole time, they were right below me. 3 feet of space and a layer of floorboards, and I never knew. The cameras haven't caught anything. The house stays quiet. I haven't gotten any more emails. But every night when I lock my bedroom door, I think about that last message. Thank you for not calling them sooner.
like I'd given them something, like we'd had an arrangement. I still don't know what they wanted. The police don't know. Maybe I never will. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is dark and I'm lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I think about those warnings. Don't go to the kitchen. Don't answer the door. Stay away from the window. Every single one of them kept me safe from something. Jehovah's Witnesses, a utility worker, a spam call, little things, normal things. And I wonder, what would have happened if I'd ignored them earlier? What would have happened if I'd checked the crawl space on day one? Would I have found them down there, staring back up at me in the dark? Or would they have found me first?